Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. Today I want to talk about rum and why bars, restaurants, and even liquor stores piss me off and how they can do a better job when it comes to my favorite spirit, rum. I'm going to tell you the story of what inspired this video and why bars, restaurants, and liquor stores are pissing me off when it comes to rum. But before I do that, I need a drink. Let's make an El Presidente. This is a stirred cocktail, so I've got my mixing glass and some ice, and we're going to need 2 ounces of an aged or golden rum. Now, I like my white rums to have a little age on them. This is a Real McCoy 3-year. Well, it's still a light rum. It's got some age on it, a little more complexity and flavor. Now we need 1 ounce of vermouth. Now most El Presidente recipes you're going to find online are going to say to use a dry vermouth. After researching this cocktail for a bit, I think they've all got it wrong. I really think the original had a sweeter vermouth in it, maybe a blanc vermouth, but for this I'm going to use a sweet vermouth, and we need 1 ounce. Now if you don't have a blanc vermouth, you could use half sweet, half dry. You could go entirely sweet like I am here, or with another aromatized wine like Lillet Blanc. Now we need 1 ounce of dry curacao. I'm going to use Pierre Fernand dry curacao. Next we need 1 bar spoon of grenadine. Now this really isn't to add sweetness, this is more for the color. When you're using a white rum and a blanc vermouth, this would be a very clear cocktail, and the grenadine would add a little splash of color to it. We're going to stir this until it's chilled and diluted. Probably about 10 seconds. We're going to strain this into a coupe glass with 1 cherry in it. And there you have the El Presidente. If you're a whiskey drinker who enjoys a Manhattan, you might like this. It's a great way to get into some aged rums. I really like this cocktail. If you make it with a dry vermouth, I think it comes out way too bitter. It's probably turned a lot of people off, and that's why you don't see it at bars and restaurants anymore. But you sweeten that vermouth a little bit, it's a fantastic drink. Being spirit forward, it's really a great way to try out the complexity of some better rums, which is what I want to talk to you about. I was at a restaurant yesterday. They have a full bar. I'm looking at their menu, and they've got some great whiskey cocktails, some great tequila cocktails. They've got an elderflower paloma on the menu using Saint Germain, a good tequila, and fresh grapefruit juice. And I keep looking down, and at the bottom, they have 1 rum drink listed, and it is Bacardi, dragon fruit, and pineapple juice. I flip over the menu and it's got some great whiskeys and scotches listed. I look further down and there's some really high-end vodkas, and I look down another line and there's the rums. Your basic Bacardi, Bacardi dragon fruit, and Captain Morgan. That's it. And that's what pisses me off. Rum is such a broad category of spirits, and yet when you go out, you're limited to 1 or 2 budget selections. Behind me, you can see just how broad the rum category is. And yes, there are some awful rums out there, but there's some fantastic rums that you will probably never see unless you really go hunting for them. If you're looking for an inexpensive white rum, there's no need to stick with your basic Bacardi Carta Blanca. Plantation 3-Star is an excellent white rum. There's also a lot of great white rums that are going to bring more flavor than your standard Bacardi, like this Real McCoy, St. Augustine, Probitas. There's a ton of them out there. And they're not that expensive. They're really a couple dollars more than a bottle of Bacardi. Just like with whiskeys, flavors may vary by region. You've got your Smith & Cross here. This is Jamaican rum. It's going to bring a lot of overripe fruit and that Jamaican funk to it. This Angostura 1919 from Trinidad is also a great golden rum, but a very different flavor profile from the Smith & Cross. Even when it comes to spiced rums, you've got other choices. I really enjoy Sailor Jerry spiced rum, But one of my all-time favorites is this Old New Orleans Cajun spice. If you want to get really interesting, just outside of the rum category, there's cachaça. This is made from sugarcane, and it's the national spirit of Brazil. This is some fantastic stuff. Use this in a daiquiri or anywhere you'd use a white rum. It's going to bring a lot of floral notes, some added complexity. It really brings a lot of flavor. It makes a drink a lot more interesting. Where rum really differs from something like whiskey is in regulations. Whiskey is very regulated. If you're going to call something a Kentucky bourbon, it needs to meet very specific criteria. The same goes for Tennessee whiskey, Scotch. There are specific rules that have to be met. If you add any sugar or flavorings to it, you technically can't even call it a whiskey anymore. It's now a specialty spirit made with whiskey. But when it comes to rum, it's kind of the Wild West. There aren't really any hard and fast regulations. While age statements on whiskey are tightly regulated, on rum, it's a different story. You're going to see bottles that have the number 23 printed in big letters front and center, and you might think that's a 23-year-old rum, but it's not. They just decided to print the number 23 on the label. It doesn't mean anything. I'm going to call out one brand in particular, Denizen. Now, I do love their rums. They make a great product. I use it all the time. But if you look at their bottle of 5-year, there's fine print underneath, very tiny, that says up to 5 years. That to me is kind of deceptive. In the whiskey world, a 5 would mean at least 5 years, not up to. I have the same complaints about liquor stores. A lot of times you'll go in and find aisle after aisle of whiskeys, and then a small section of rum containing just the major brands. A lot of that is sweetened and flavored, Malibu and Parrot Bay, that are really liqueurs with some rum in it. If you're a whiskey drinker, just imagine going into a liquor store. Instead of finding bottles of your favorite Scotch or bourbon, half of the shelf is screwball peanut butter whiskey. It seems like the only place you're reliably going to find somebody who really knows their rums and has a good selection is a tiki bar. And at a tiki bar, you've got to deal with crowds. They're normally packed to capacity. You have to make reservations. The drinks are going to be very specifically tiki style. You're not going to find something like an El Presidente on their menu, and you're paying a premium for the tiki experience. This is my call to bartenders, restaurant owners, liquor store managers. Order some good rums. Get some variety. Let people enjoy my favorite spirit. Discover the complexity and variety there is in rum. Put some interesting rum cocktails on your menu that'll let people really experience the depth of flavor that's possible with rum. And if you're just somebody who wants to pick up a bottle to make a mojito or a daiquiri at home, you have choices. Pass up the Bacardi, try something interesting. I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.